Sorry.
Sounding good.
For sure.
Good. Good morning. You are watching TMI show with Ted Rall and Manila Chan. We are here on every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Thanks so much for tuning in. Joining us today, sitting in for Manila Chan, is producer Robbie West. Manila is still recovering from childbirth. We'll check in with her over the weekend and find out when she's going to be back. And all right, so we have a lot to get to today. If you have a question for us, however, please feel free to pipe it in if you're watching live in the 10 a.m. hour on Eastern Time. Please pipe in your question on YouTube or Rumble. Priority goes to Super Chats and Rumble Rants. Okay, am I forgetting anything here? Let's see if there's an ad that we could do.
I bet you there is.
There is? I don't even see it. I don't see one.
Let me
There
see.
isn't. There is not yet. We are adless, much like.
What the hell? Hold on.
Oh, it's true. We're adless. We'll come
These
back to it.
these lion heifers. Damn you, Rumble.
We'll come back to it later. All right. So, all right. Let's get straight to it. God, I want to do the. Do I have the? Do I have the ability to do the Jaws? I think I do. I don't know if I can even see it. Oh
Well,
God,
no, it is racist to use the jaws.
is it?
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the Manila thing.
Yeah, she said that. Well, okay, I won't use the Jaws, and I have to admit I don't really care about the Jaws that much. So, even though I just said I did care about it, but I don't. So that's a lie. All right, today we're going to be talking about a California escort manslaughter case that I know everybody's been following eagerly. This horrific New Jersey Beaver mauling and the global fertility collapse. So, sorry about the one unimportant question about global fertility. I know you're mainly here for the beavers, as are we all. So, okay. So,
I
why
have,
am I?
Ted, I have never eaten a beaver. I've ate raccoon. I've ate possum,
Have you killed a
razorback.
beaver? Have you seen a dead beaver?
I have seen a dead beaver, but no, I've never killed one because, as a rule, I only kill critters that I want to eat. So if I'm not going
Mm.
to eat it, I don't
Well,
kill it.
beavers are edible.
Oh, for sure. I've just never had one. Now, raccoon is a
Huh.
great meal. They're a little bit salty,
Mhm.
but I mean, they taste great. Like
I feel badly though.
raccoon jerky.
They're more intelligent than most members of Congress, so it just feels wrong to kill them.
Well, can we vote beavers into Congress?
Yeah, well, they at least, unlike many members of Congress, they have opposable thumbs. All right, so let's move on here.
And they're
Okay,
builders.
a California woman who lived a double life as an OnlyFans model and high-end escort pled guilty yesterday to involuntary manslaughter after one of her clients died following sexual activity with her. Michaela Rylaarsdam, 32 years old, will be sentenced next month to 4 years in prison after her client, 55-year-old Michael Dale, died of asphyxiation. Dale died at his house in Escondido in San Diego County. Authorities say the woman, who had reportedly been working in the escort industry for approximately 10 years, was based in Menifee, that's in Riverside County, east of Los Angeles. Michaela Rylaarsdam pled guilty to involuntary manslaughter after her client died following sexual activity with her. Prosecutors allege the death resulted from Rylaarsdam placing duct tape over his mouth and a plastic bag and saran wrap over his head during a recorded encounter. Because his limbs were, tied up, Dale could not remove the items. He remained inside his bag of death for approximately 8 minutes, leading him to be declared brain dead the following day. The woman, whose husband was aware of her OnlyFans and helped her manage the business. So I'm not really sure where the New York Post gets off saying that she led a double life because, I mean,
She
her
obviously
husband
did.
her husband obviously was a full-fledged participant here, said that she immediately called 911 after the incident. Rylaarsdam is married to Brandon Rylaarsdam, and and they have 3 kids, 3 sons, according to their kink site, Secret Hostess, where she posted pictures of herself and boasted about her life under the name Ashley Sincal, adding the H is silent. That's helpful. Ashley. Her attorney, Dan Cohen, previously stated that his client had no intention of killing Dale, arguing that although consent is not a legal defense, it is certainly a mitigating factor. I think there was no intent to kill and no attempt to cover this up, and she acted appropriately when she realized this was a problem. There's definitely a consensual element, not only something he consented to, something she was actively seeking. Now, Robbie, I know that you view people like this very highly and respect their morality and patriotism. But I got to say, in all seriousness, I don't know that Michaela should. I mean, to me, the crime is really recklessness, reckless endangerment. She didn't. I mean, she's. It sounds like basically he was a retard, and he wanted a retard thing, and retard died of retard thing, and basically that's what happened. She did what he wanted her to do. She ought not have, because it was reckless. But I think this is excessive punishment. 4 years in prison seems like, a waste of taxpayer money to keep her in the clink all that time. I mean, she's not a danger to society. She's probably just a little bit dumb.
Well, the thing is, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's a kink. Between 250 and 2,000 people die every year in the United States because of this. What the hell is that guy who played in Kung Fu, Carradine, who died in Southeast Asia? I mean, he hung himself, trying to, doing this kind of stuff. I guess what's different here is he was being filmed having sex with this girl while he did it. I mean, it wasn't murder. To be honest with you, I don't see the crime. I don't think she should be charged at all.
Yeah, especially because she called 911 right afterwards, right? Like as soon as she realized he was in respiratory distress. What about Michael Hutchins? He was the singer of In Excess. He hung
David
himself
Carradine.
but also Michael Hutchins, right? Died from autoerotic asphyxiation.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I realize that this is going to come as a surprise because I'm a right winger and I have strong opinions about this stuff. But I also believe in this thing called justice. And Ted, I don't see the crime here. The guy died because he wanted to be tied up and suffocated while he was having sex. I mean, his crime is stupidity, and that crime has been taken care of. He's no longer in the gene pool.
Nope.
That's I don't see the issue here. I don't understand why. I don't even understand why there's a trial.
I don't either. I think it's trying. We need to come up with free Michaela T-shirts.
Yeah, and let me see. And Peter, thank you for $2 donation. Remember that Nelson Rockefeller died in the arms of a mistress.
That's true. He died the way we would all want to die, while having sex with a prostitute in a townhouse on Central Park West in the 1970s. The way we call this death with dignity. By the way, people forget, right? He was vice president of the United States.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Ted. I mean,
wasn't he? I think he was, wasn't he?
I think he was. Yeah,
yeah,
pretty sure he was. Just, I mean,
that's how. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's how. So wait, I have to look this up because I think if I remember my Watergate history well, Nixon and Agnew won re-election in '72. Agnew had to resign due to the Maryland milk scandal. It's such a funny thing to think that $10,000 in bribes was enough to force the vice president of the United States out. Then I believe Nelson Rockefeller replaced him and then died, and then was replaced by Jerry Ford, and then Nixon resigned and Jerry Ford became president. I think that's the order of things, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, though. Maybe Nelson Rockefeller was governor or something? I have to look this up. We have to look this up. He was a Rockefeller. We should know these things. Yeah, he was vice president. I was right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wait. That's not quite right. So, okay, my memory is wrong.
Nelson Rockefeller was the 41st vice president of the United States, serving from 74 to 77 under President Gerald Ford.
And so basically he was Ford's. I knew there was a Ford connection there somewhere. So Ford appointed him as vice president. And then after he left the vice presidency, late in the Carter years, in 1979, is when he met his maker in the arms of his mistress. So, yeah, what a story.
I mean,
Anyway,
I don't. If I was on this lady's jury, it would have been a hung jury. I would not have convicted her.
yeah, no, I'm with you. I just don't think so. It's just not. It ain't right.
No, I mean, he died doing what he loved, which is getting done while he was being suffocated. And
Right, which is, by the way, a more common kink than people might imagine.
oh yeah, I mean, 1,000
Full
people a year.
disclosure, I'm not one of them, nor have I, nor if, and I have had partners want that done to them, and I respectfully declined because I don't want to end up in a California prison sharing a cell with Michaela. Although there are worse fates, probably.
No, you've had some interesting partners. You got some that wanted the booty, and you declined. You got some that wanted to strangle them, and you've declined. It sounds
That's
like
true.
you're kind of into vanilla sex, there, Ted.
That's pretty true. Yeah. Yeah. Well, vanilla sex is, it's sex. It's sort of like when Woody Allen said, like, oh, he would read stories about how to improve your orgasm. And he's like, I don't want to improve my orgasm. My orgasm's already the best thing I do. If my orgasm were any better, I'd never go outside. I wouldn't do anything else. Like, yeah, I'm kind of down with that.
No, I agree.
Um, yeah, orgasms are great. And, all right, let's leave that at that. Let's see.
Stormborn says your kink is eating ass.
That's not a kink. That's an interest. It's a taste, a delicious taste treat. All right, so
You're eating shit. I don't think that would be.
it's a metaphor for capitalism. All right, so
Well, I don't like capitalism. Therefore, I have no interest in doing that.
okay. Well, that's it. That's a new development. All right, are we ready for the next breaking story here?
Oh, this is one I'm really looking forward to right here.
Okay, here we go. All right, an 8-year-old boy was injured Sunday after being attacked by a beaver at a park in New Jersey. The incident happened about 6 p.m. in Mahwah, New Jersey. Police said the child was fishing from the shoreline, 8 years old, by the way, when a beaver came out of the water and charged at him. The boy tried to run away, but tripped like he was in a 1970s horror movie, and the animal bit him in the upper thigh before then continuing the attack. A family acquaintance who was nearby stepped in to help, hitting and kicking the beaver several times until it retreated to its foul lair, like Grendel. Officials said the animal continued circling the area after the attack. I mean, that's one hell of a beaver.
Yeah.
Mawa EMS responded to the scene and took the child to a hospital. There was no immediate word on his condition. Presumably, he survived. While investigating, police said that they received additional reports along with an online video indicating that the same beaver may have approached or attacked other park visitors earlier in the day. So he was out of control. You have to watch out for these castorine fucks.
Yeah.
Due to the circumstances, Mahwah police contacted animal control. Responders from Tyco Animal Hospital Control arrived and observed the beaver showing signs of possible illness, sniffles, sneezing. The animal was captured and removed from the park and will be sent for testing. I guess maybe
Rabies.
It'll take the LSAT, the SAT, the bar exam.
No, I'm just relieved that it's a real beaver and not a lesbian, because I could see lesbians attacking 8-year-old boys that just
Coming out of the water.
that just come kind of like a Japanese horror movie, like let's like the Ring, for example, where you just kind of crawl out of the TV. Was that the Ring?
That was the Ring. Yeah, yeah.
I,
Terrible, fucking terrible movie. And when you find out why it's a ring, you're like, really, seriously, that's it? So bad.
it was the Will, right? Is that why it's the Ring?
Uh huh. Yeah,
I
so
try to
bad.
watch it. It never made
So
sense.
fucking stupid.
I don't even understand how the movie ended. I don't understand the ending.
Oh, it's so bad, and it's like the John Grisham book and movie, The Firm, and you're like, there's all these implications that it's sort of like the devil's advocate, which I don't know if you've ever seen, Robbie, but the devil's advocate you would love. It's infused deeply with religion and Christianity. But basically, a lawyer goes to work for the devil, played by not Robert De Niro, played by, oh my God, Al Pacino. And he's really hammy and fantastic.
Oh,
Um,
and the lawyer's Keanu Reeves, right?
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
it's just a southern lawyer. He's like Floridian. Um, anyway, so the this, I mean, it definitely seems to me like this is this is a case. Oh God, I lost my train of thought. I'm like Bidening out this morning. I don't know what's wrong with me, but
you were coffee. I mean, no, listen, what it is, you don't have your 1775 coffee because you're traveling again.
mm, that could be it. That could be it exactly.
I mean,
But
I need to get a refill of my coffee. I'm still drinking that god awful crap I showed you all the other day because one not
well, you have to
wasted.
finish it off.
It is so bad.
No,
I seriously considered just making sure I had a happy accident and just telling Kizzy, well, I dropped it, and
I remember what I was going to say. The firm.
yeah,
Yeah, it's just that you find after all this, you think it's the devil, and it's like, no, it's the mafia. And you're like, really? It's the mafia? Like,
it
you
was
can't do better than that, really? A
it
terrible
was the
plot
mafia.
line.
It wasn't the devil.
It wasn't the devil in the firm.
I
It's
thought the
not the
entire
devil.
I thought the entire point was that they're trying to make him conceive the Antichrist.
Well, that no, that you're thinking of the Devil's Advocate, Keanu Reeves. That's yes, but the firm, the movie with the
Oh,
John
gotcha.
Grisham one, it's not the devil. It should be the devil. I think my theory is that the people who wrote Devil's Advocate they saw the firm and they're like, okay, we're going to write the movie that the firm ought to have been.
Gotcha. Yeah, but listen, I can see it, and I mean, last night, me and Thomas, we went and we saw the new Mortal Kombat movie. Great movie, highly recommend it. Most video game movies, they really suck. This one's actually really good. Two of the characters I hate the most died in gruesome ways, which is always a good thing. So if you are interested in that kind of thing, go see Mortal Kombat 2. It's in theaters. Highly recommend it.
Okay, duly noted. So
And no no
any
attacking beavers.
well, so have you look? You have more. You've lived in places where beavers live.
Yep.
Um, would you say that beavers? Does this sound like characteristic beaver behavior? Are beavers known to be dangerous? I mean, have you ever heard of? I mean, I knew that like French trappers like explored the New World looking for beavers. I never knew it was dangerous. I assumed they were just like flopping around with their silly tails, making their silly dams.
The only time I've ever seen them get aggressive is if they perceive that their nest is being threatened. That's the
Hmm,
only time I've ever seen them just kind of go crazy. I think most likely this one probably had rabies, and so I think that it's safe to say
that's
that this
bad.
beaver. I think it's safe to say that this beaver has been sent to its next world, and that its brain has been extracted because that's the way you can test for rabies. You got to test the brain.
Hmm. This is good times for all. All right. Well, so let's move on. We don't need to stretch things out.
We're making
Okay.
good progress on today's show.
Yeah, we don't have to go the full hour, by the way. There's no obligation here. Okay. All right. And last and certainly not least, the collective reluctance to procreate is perhaps most glaring in Nordic countries. With their stable economies, strong social safety nets, robust family policies, and equitable gender relations, they maintained relatively high birth rates throughout the early 2000s. In the aftermath of the financial crisis of 2008, however, also known as the Great Recession, births in Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and Finland went down, and then went down some more, even as their economies recovered throughout the 2010s. Little about those nations' family policies changed, and as far as anyone can tell, men were still doing their share of the dishes. The same downward trend held in the US, where births have fallen by about 23% since 2007, despite high rates of immigration until last year. Births have also been declining in East Asian countries, even though governments in the region have thrown buckets of money at the problem, and in France, despite its long-standing pro-natalist policies. This is not simply a matter of affordability, the buzzword often invoked to explain why people are choosing to have smaller families. Government support for parents can help, but overall, people are having fewer kids both in countries that offer very little and in those who are renowned for their generous family benefits. Moreover, the trend holds among those who are struggling to make ends meet, as well as among those who have advanced degrees and salaried jobs. What unites these disparate cultures, policy environments, and demographics, researchers are now realizing, is young people's inescapable and crushing sense that the future is too uncertain for the lifelong commitment of parenthood. Call it the vibes theory of demographic decline. The future has never been assured, but it feels as though we are living in a time of spectacular uncertainty. In the US, job tenures have contracted and income volatility has gone up. Life expectancy, once always on the inexorable march upward, has fallen for less educated women and men. Many of the forces our economy is built upon, AI, immigration, global trade, feel distressingly volatile. Disruption, once a byword for a disturbance or a problem, is the governing ethos of a terrifyingly powerful sector of our economy. The rise of prediction markets has turned the world into a giant casino. The climate crisis is spiraling out of control, as are the costs of everything that could enable parenthood, whether that's a roof over your head or childcare. The past half century has brought us breathtaking inequality, accompanied by a sharp decline in social mobility. The two generations of childbearing age bear the psychological and financial scars of coming of age amid world-scale catastrophes. Older millennials entered the labor market during the Great Recession. Many watched their parents lose their jobs or homes. Members of Gen Z, whose lives were upturned by the COVID pandemic, now find themselves competing against AI for entry-level jobs and even prospective partners. The man running America seems single-mindedly devoted to chaos at home and abroad. Even declining fertility rates feed into the cycle. How will society function if each generation is smaller than the last? And I have to say, I'm very much looking forward to your thoughts about this.
Well, I think it's a complicated thing. I think it's a lot of. I think a lot of this you can trace it back to the 1960s and the whole idea of feminism, the whole war against the patriarchy. I think that now it's an adversarial relationship between between the two genders, and also because we're pushing such a premium for women to go to school now and to be business people, because you can't tax a working mom or a mom who's raising kids. You can't have her tax a woman who is married to her corporate job, and so I think that's a big part of it. Also, is women more often than not, if they more women than not want to either date or marry a man that makes at least as much, if not more, than they do. And so, because especially here in the United States, women are outperforming men in college education and careers. So their dating pool shrinks because there's fewer men that they'd be interested in, because there's fewer men that make more than what they do nowadays. Uh, it's Feminism is a poison. It's a suicide, and it is destroying East Asia. It's destroying Europe. It's destroying North America. It needs to be thrown into the trash bin of history.
Okay, but everything that I just described, and we can argue about feminism, but the point is, this is the situation. Look, people on the left have long argued, and I either amplified those arguments or agreed with them quietly, that we need to have like more affordable childcare. We have to make college affordable. Maybe we can increase the tax deductions for having children, and that these would all be inducements to help people encourage people to have more kids. But countries like France, they have all that stuff,
Yeah.
and they still are suffering from the same problems. I mean, it does seem like really what people. It's sort of like how pandas and other animals in captivity. It's hard to make them reproduce. You basically need to make them feel safe. And like during the pandemic, famously, like the pandas in zoos that were no longer full of visitors anymore started having more kids. They felt more relaxed, more safer. They felt safer. They had more babies, right?
Yeah.
We don't feel human beings. We don't really feel safe in the West anymore. We feel beleaguered by all the stuff that I mentioned in the article. And I mean, maybe What we need a politics that starts to focus not on a lot of the stuff that we do talk about, but on the idea of like we just need people, whether you want them to have kids or not, you need people to feel safe. Like when they wake up in the morning, they shouldn't be suffering from anxiety, wondering whether or not they can, afford to see the doctor if they get sick, or afford to take care of their parents if their parents are ailing, or any of the other issues that come up. I mean, we're living in this time of incredible insecurity, and now it's literally having a very direct impact on the future of civilization itself.
Okay, then what's the insecurity that's going on in the Scandinavian countries? I mean, are they safe? I would like to think so. I
I
mean,
don't
they're
think they're safer than we are, and that's why their birth rates aren't as low as ours. But they're still not maybe safe enough. They still have the same concerns about corporate layoffs, and yeah, sure, there's more of a social safety net to help them if it happens, but that doesn't mean it's not a concern. They're still worried about competing against AI. They're still, they still have the dysfunction of, of the digital effects on dating and romance. I mean, I think there's a lot going on here.
yeah. Listen, I'm completely. Listen, I agree with that, but I also think that you got to lay a certain amount of blame to this with birth control and abortion because people still have sex. I mean, we just had a story about OnlyFans lady who actually took out her John. I mean, birth control and abortion by definition prevent a child from being born. So that has to be part of the
Yeah,
conversation.
but those are, I mean, but those are, don't you think, Robbie, in, setting aside, maybe how you feel about those things emotionally, I mean, don't you think those are a manifestation of people deciding not to have kids? It's like, it's not like we're not having kids because people are just reflexively having abortions. People are choosing to have abortions. Specifically, they're willing to pay hundreds of dollars to an abortionist because they don't want to have a kid. And I guess the point of this theory is that maybe they don't want to have a kid because they don't feel like they don't feel safe, and they don't feel like they would have the resources to care for it. And I don't mean just the financial
Uh,
resources, which people like me on the left usually focus on, but
the,
maybe the family resources, the emotional, the psychological resources to do that.
then why is the birth rate in sub-Saharan Africa so high? Because if you're going to compare the level of safety and feelings and the warm and fuzzies, Europe and the West, as a rule, and East Asia, they are definitely safer, more equitable societies than, say, the Congo, which has a insanely high birth rate.
Well, wait a minute. I'm not sure that Congo has a less equitable society than, say, the United States. I'm sure that's not true at all. I'm sure the gap between rich and poor is much smaller there.
Yeah, but we're talking
Um,
about birth rates, though. I
but
mean,
if you're feeling safe, but yeah, but if you're talking about safety, like also there's safety that you can have that doesn't come from necessarily like low crime rates. There's the safety of like having multi-generational family connections, which in Congo you're certainly going to have far more of those in a tribal society than you have in the United States, right? You're going to have your parents, your grandparents, maybe even your great grandparents still alive and able to help you manage your problems, catch you if you fall. That's not something we have here in the West with nuclear families.
well, you have said multiple times in Japan that they have multi generational homes. That's why young people aren't having sex. So you can't have it both ways. If one works in Africa, then if you're in Japan, they have the exact same social they have the same social
Well, the
structure.
problem there is you have multiple generations in a one bedroom apartment in Japan because real estate's unaffordable. In Congo, you don't have that issue.
So it's not so much the family structure; it's that in Japan they just physically don't have room.
They literally don't have like there's literally not a spare bed to bone in.
So to me, that makes no sense because well, probably I've never been there. I've never been to Japan. Also, I live in a very
The
rural
density is
place. That's a lot of room.
insane there. I mean, it makes. I mean, like it's like it's just like people are piled up on top of each other. I recommend there's like various websites that show how Japanese people live in their apartments, and like you're talking about people. We're not talking about poor people here. We're talking
Sure.
about middle and maybe even what we would call upper middle class, office workers, and they're in. You'll see them in basically what looks like a prison cell with all of their possessions, like books and so on, piled all the way to the ceiling in a whole hodgepodge of stuff that came from the Container Store. And there's barely enough room to walk around one side of the bed that's on the floor, or they fold up the bed and during the day so that they can have a little bit of room to walk around during the day. I mean, they just don't have any room.
Yeah, because Mr. Lee just talked about, hey, I've seen this African dude work for a Chinese company, had 5 wives and 20 plus kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if the Africans are able to bone and spawn out this huge number of people, maybe Japan is just a doomed case and they're going to go extinct because they decided to end their society. I mean, I think that's a bad thing. It'd be a tragedy. But then how does that correlate to South Korea and China, which is a large country that has a lot of open space and it has a declining birth rate too? And it seems like the biggest trend here is urbanization, putting a premium on the education of women, trying
Well,
to
there's
push them
also
into the
in an
workforce.
agrarian society, like in much of sub-Saharan Africa, there are also economic incentives for having children, right? Because they can help you work your fields.
But don't we have economic incentives in France, in Russia, in
They're
Scandinavia?
they're they're different because like they don't have they're not agrarian societies in the same way that like Africa is.
Well, here's my question for you: what's going to happen if I'm right and there's a collapse in the West, an economic collapse, and we're not able to feed Africa anymore? What's going to happen to all these hordes of Africans? Are they going to just start marching north to Europe? What's going to happen then?
Well, what makes you think? What kind of? I mean, look, honestly, there will be migrant flows from Africa into probably yes into Europe, but also into South Asia, which is under pressure itself due to climate change, right? I mean,
Yep, for sure.
the Africa has a lot of landlocked territory. Those territories are going to be afflicted by drought and famine, and people are going to be on the move, and there's going to be more civil war. I mean, the civil conflict in Sudan and South Sudan, in large part, was caused by drought and climate change.
What do you think the solution is for raising the birth rate? For me, it's pretty simple. Outlaw contraceptives and you outlaw abortions. You're going to get more babies by default.
Um, I mean, I
I'm
guess
talking
the
about a
first.
global ban. I'm talking about a global ban on contraceptives and abortion.
Well,
Like,
let me
period,
put it
done.
this. But seriously, like, okay, so if people don't want to have kids, right? I
Mhm.
mean, sure, they can abort and they can use contraception, but if you ban those things, they can do onanism. They can pull out. They can do the rhythm method, and they can just decide not to have sex certain times of the month.
Which is
I
fine.
mean, there's lots of things that people can do, and there's the simple fact that your swimmers won't work as well if you're stressed out, and they won't and the blastocyst won't stick to the side of the uterus as well if you're stressed out. So it's like it's complicated. I guess my point is, rather than compel people to have kids they don't want to have, I would rather create a society that that makes people feel like happy, and that they trust that if they have a child, their child will live to see another day. Wouldn't you?
Well, of course, but how do you get there? Because I just gave you what my solution would be. So, what is your solution?
Well,
I'm
I don't see how your
hearing
solution. I don't see how your solution makes people feel safer, though.
it's not about making them feel safer. It's about increasing the birth rate. So if
Well,
people
but
are
yeah.
having sex,
Mhm.
I mean, by definition, abortion is killing a baby, right? Yes or
Sure.
no? Okay.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
And contraceptive that prevents pregnancy either by making sure that the sperm doesn't fertilize the egg, or it just
Yeah.
kills the
No, it reduces.
baby.
Obviously, it reduces the birth rate a lot.
Yeah, for sure. So if the goal is to increase the birth rate, again,
Well,
this is
maybe
just
the
a math
the
question.
goal is to increase. The goal is to make people happy, so that they will want to increase the birth rate.
Well, let's just assume that government can't make people happy.
I don't see. I don't. Government absolutely can make people happy.
How?
Government can make people. It can provide you with law and order and safety on the streets, so you're not worried about being physically assaulted or having your possessions stolen. It
Okay.
can. It can create. It can regulate the economy so that everybody who works earns a living wage, and the people who don't work are taken care of and can find a means of educating themselves so that they can find work. They can be provided with healthcare benefits so that they don't stress out about that stuff.
Doesn't France already do that?
France does some of that stuff.
Okay, but
Yeah,
why is their birth rate in the toilet?
because
South
it doesn't do enough of that stuff.
South Korea does those things. They have the highest suicide rate in the world.
Well, I would argue that the problem with France is that they have an employment system that really benefits older workers and doesn't do much of anything for people in their 20s. And let's face it, people in the 20s are the most fertile legal adults, right? So those people, so like they're broke as shit, and they don't really have a lot of social guarantees. Of course, they're not having kids.
Then how you fix that problem?
There's that's a more intractable issue because the problem is that a lot of the worker guarantees that are meant to protect your job from being fired for no good reason, like we can here, they have those in France. But one of the unintended consequences of those is the thing that I just mentioned, which is older workers end up being protected, but it's really hard. There's not enough openings being created for younger workers, and I think France could do more to decrease income inequality. It could tax the rich more. It could use that money to not stop subsidizing stupid things like the war in Ukraine. It could it could create jobs through more public works and so on.
I mean, one of the things that I've been, as you know, this is a topic that weighs really heavy on me because I think that children are the only legacy that we pass forward that really means anything. And it's a measurement of two things. One, it's your personal legacy, having someone that you're able to bring into this world that you're then able to, that you can directly impact the future with. Second, childbirth by any metric is how you measure if a society is healthy or not.
Mm-hmm.
I think those two things are just unassailable. What I don't understand is that this problem is happening in the so-called democracies on the earth. So South Korea, for example, at least they pretend to be a democracy. Same thing with Japan. China is a capitalist system. It's not a democracy, but I mean it's definitely not a communist state. Europe and North America, they're democratic countries. Why do the people continue to allow these governments to exist that destroy the entire premise of them being able to have a future and a family, and more to the point, destroy the entire future of the state?
No, I mean, look, these are big questions, and I don't have all the answers.
I mean,
But
if I was a South Korean, I would be up in arms right now. I would be calling for an outlet. I would be calling for a revolution. The same thing with Japan. What kind of society would you want to be in that has a 70-hour work week and at best you get to see your wife maybe 8 hours a week? But yet,
no, I mean it sucks.
Well, for
Yeah.
sure. Why do the people tolerate it?
I don't know. I mean, just think about like all the countries that are not having revolutions in the world at any given time, which is most of them, including ours. And you have to ask, like, why the fuck do people put up with this and that and this and that? Good question.
Are they just not unhappy enough, or they
Well,
just?
that's what. Yeah, I mean, Che Guevara said that as long as people think that there's the slightest hope inside the existing system of like electoral politics, they will not rise up and take the chance of violent revolution. And I think he was right.
Me and Kizzy, we got two kids. We wanted five. Just after Thomas was born, she got gestational diabetes, and it just really just played hell with her health, and so she ended up having to get her tubes tied just because it was too much of a risk for pregnancy if she got pregnant again. In a perfect world, I would want just a ton of kids. I mean, no, there are school districts here in this country that are in full on crisis mode because there's not enough kids to go to school. The same thing's happening in East Asia. In Japan, they're selling more diapers for adults than they are for babies.
Mm-hmm.
This is not healthy. It is not a good thing. And for the life of me, I do not understand why the people don't stand up and say, no, we have a right to a future. And the most fundamental thing to have a future is to have a kid.
Well, I mean, what's interesting is, and I don't. Part of the problem is that this is a politicized issue, and it really shouldn't be.
No.
Recently, it's been probably the most famous person talking about this has been Elon Musk, who's now a right winger, and and now just for the very first time after 15 or 20 years of making fun of Elon and his 13 children with weird names. Now you're starting to see like the editorial page of the New York Times run pieces like the one that we're talking about right now. So I suppose that's an improvement. One of the big things that needs to happen for any problem to be solved in our societies for us on a broad-based, level to be able to all agree that it's a problem, and that heretofore hasn't happened. But I
But,
think we're there now, and
yeah.
I
Well,
think we should
it's
leave. We should leave it there and kick
no,
off.
sounds good.
But
No, I'm good with that. It's just it's a major problem. People need to have more kids. Kids are a legacy. They are the one thing that's actually directly impacts the future that you're able to leave behind. Ted, you're a parent. I'm a parent. I'm sure a lot of people here in the chat are parents too.
sure,
And one of the things that I want to see happen, I've told Thomas this. So I want you to get married. I want to meet your wife, and I want you to have a boatload of kids. I want you to be able to work in a way where if you want to have 8 kids, more power to you. Have a bunch of kids. It's not a shameful thing. Have kids.
no.
Invest in the future.
All right. With that, thanks everyone for tuning in. That does it for Friday, May 8th, 2026. Thanks for watching the TMI show with Ted Rall and Manila Chan. We'll be back next week, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Deprogram with myself and Jamal Thomas and Robbie West kicking in very quite often. We'll be back on also next week at 9 a.m. So it's 9 a.m. is Deprogram, 10 a.m. is TMI. On Thursdays, there's the DMZ America podcast. If you didn't check out yesterday's DMZ, it's particularly spicy about the scandal that we broke in the Pulitzer Prizes this year.
Yep.
Thanks, everyone. Have an awesome weekend. Thanks, Robbie, and talk to
Bye,
you later.
y'all.